Hello, friends. Welcome. We are here today to discuss chapters 5 through 8 of the Ships of Merior. Am I pronouncing that right? I hope I am.
That's right.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Thank you, Chibi. So we're here to discuss 5 through 8. If you have not read them, don't listen or watch. Come back later after you've read them. Don't let us spoil it for you. We're going to go around the room. Chibipoe, will you kick us off with introductions, please?
Uh, Hi, I'm Chibipoe, longtime reader of her stuff. I know that there's a lot I can say that I haven't already said, but uh, I'm enjoying reading these again, and that's about it.
Cool. Robyn?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Robyn from Bookends and Biscuits. Yeah, no, I think Chibi said it all. Really looking forward to having the discussions. I think, as we said, we're all excited to get into the next chapters.
Yes. And Jared?
Yep, I'm Jared, and I'm enjoying the heck out of this book right now. My first time reading it, so I'm really looking forward to more. I'm really enjoying these chapter by chapter discussions that we're having here.
Yeah, definitely. And Chris?
Yeah, my name's Chris Simone. Sometimes make YouTube videos, sometimes appear on Steve's channel. And I think it's fair to say, and I don't want to do too much hyperbole, but the first chapter in this little set, we're going to talk about chapter 5. I think it's one of the greatest chapters in all of fantasy ever written. I think it was stunning.
What a big open.
That was a big one. But honestly, I had to close after the chapter ended and went, holy crap.
Wow. Okay.
Just me then? Okay.
No. I don't disagree. I was like, wow, that's a bold statement to start off with. Tell us why. We'll start off.
So I will say the first half of chapter 5, you're like, right, okay, this feels uneasy. Like there's a kind of feeling that things could go horribly wrong, could go kind of well. Even the fact that they're sort of late and all that kind of stuff kind of adds it. And then the second half, the writing, there's so much is explained about the book from how the magic system works in terms of music, then about how the lanes actually play into that, how the destructive power and the emotional power. And it seemed to be like this perfect storm of Janny's writing, the stuff that she was writing about and the effects of it all sort of meshed into one. And like the whole writing style just seemed to work just in perfect sync with it all. And when all those things lined up, it was just like, this is sort of overwhelming. It was sort of like I was in the room when everything was happening, and everything's come crumbling around. You kind of feel yourself being part of that rather than just kind of like watching a movie or something like that. It was very much being in the moment.
Yeah, the way she paced a chapter and just had that constant buildup of tension, and it just kept going and going and going until it all broke out, was just beautiful. And it was a lot of stuff that came to fruition in this chapter that we kind of were like guessing at in the first 4 chapters. And I think Chibipoe was biting his tongue. And so it was really cool to see how all that came into be through the music and her writing and word choice and stuff like that. It was just really outstanding.
I don't know I enjoyed the 5th chapter, but I think I enjoyed the other one as well. It wasn't my favorite chapter ever. But it was good. It was I think it was, like you said, it was a great kind of like, we'd stopped at such a good position in the chapter 4 to then open with this and be like, wow, okay, awesome. But I will say that I don't know what it is, but this book I am getting sucked into. Like I'm not even seeing the dense prose or whatever else. I'm not even having to like slow down. I'm just into it. And so I actually started tabbing bits where I was like, that is a beautiful line. Oh my gosh, that is a stunning description. Oh my gosh, or everything else. I'm adoring this book. It's so far, it's just been fabulous. So, but yeah, not specifically chapter 5, but all of it in general.
How hard was that for you, Chibipoe, to hold your tongue last discussion?
Oh, I was like, I had muted myself several times last week, and I was just like cackling like a fiend when you guys were speculating about some stuff, and I'm like, oh, I can't say anything here. I gotta keep quiet.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we mentioned last week was Dakar's suspicions, beginning to come to the fore with regards to Arathorn's identity. And I think the beginning of chapter 5 actually showed that a lot more. And he actually mentioned it as part of his, because I think a lot of this is from, it's not from Arathorn's perspective, it's from Dakar's. And so we're getting a lot of his perspective there, and then and so we're starting to see him starting to realize that there's something going on here. He's, either through his magic sensitivity and stuff like that, he starts to really see this, that it's not, everything's not as it seems, and his suspicions are brought forward. And
there's the whole bit there where they're exchanging gossip at the beginning, and he's just listening to Merior talk, and he's like, he can't place any accent at all, and nothing that it's like the very absence of any kind of distinguishing accent or physical trait or anything is like just setting his alarm bells going.
Yeah, right.
Especially when he remarks that he invoked a freaking fiend plague with the Ayats, and Asandir hasn't bothered to show up to reprimand him for that. He's like,
yep.
He's like, yeah, what if? But he's still not. It's still not clicking for him. He's just like, yeah, I'm headed to Shan, so maybe that means Erethan's there, and lol, I'm headed there, even though I don't, want to.
Yeah, and Robyn, you mentioned great lines. I actually wrote one of these down. It was because it was Halloran was playing to the audience, and it was a master bard's enmity could call down an unkind legacy, and I thought that was just a great line of what Halloran was trying to do there, and how he was really poking barbs at all the nobles of the town, the city that they were in there. And I thought that was just really poignant, I guess. And then he got injured. I forget exactly how he got injured. What was that?
One of the guards punched him in the head.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. And then Arathorn took over after that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing some music. And did he... Because then there was some power being unleashed at that point when he's playing music, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then did he was he kind of like raising like the spirits of the Paravians, or is he in touch on that kind of level?
It was kind of a perfect storm. It's described there. The mayor's feasting hall or whatever was built right over the the focus circle, and it was solstice night. So the the lane forces cresting and whatnot, and his playing elevated enough that it tapped into the echo of the original Paravian rituals and just set it loose. It's like if we'd been sitting anywhere else, like not right over it, I doubt it would have had the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the perfect storm of location, and
I kind of love how, for the first 4 chapters, it was very much Arathorn's in hiding. He's turned off his mage sight. Everything, he's just cloak and dagger the whole time. He can't ever reveal himself, and it's like, and then he just blows the doors off it. It's like almost like he turns on a Batman signal and says, "Right, here I am. Come find me." In the most destructive and forceful way possible. Again, a reminder of how powerful, is even his music is, you know, as a tool, you know, in terms of the magic within the world.
Right. But it was Halloran's injuring that kind of brought that out.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it was kind of funny how Halloran kind of turned into the troublemaker at that point, because he was viciously poking these guys. You know, he didn't like him at all.
Yeah, there's the whole bit where he was just raging before before they went out. He's just like, never have I stayed to perform for someone who insults me not once but repeatedly.
Yeah. So that was very interesting.
I had some lines written down. I can't find them, but I had some pictures. But yeah, to Robyn's point about the writing, I find myself not being slowed down by that. Not that it would slow me down before, but I just had to be conscious of it. But now I think I reread sections because it's like, wow, that's
great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Like I just want to like reread it over again.
Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I don't know if it's because there was so, like she said, that you get a little bit more time to sit with things in this one, and I was just enjoying it like as a classic fantasy one. We were just enjoying it, enjoying the setting, the story, the slow pace of it, the characters. And it's just like I'm just really bedding into it now. But yeah, I think some of the lines that I wrote down were later on in the book a little bit. There was the bit where I can't even remember now. One of the, is it mages or is it wizards? Because I keep saying both.
Sorcerers. I thought it was sorcerers.
Sorcerers? No, one of them. Anyway, one of the sorcerers, one of the 7, goes to check the mountain, and there's a little sentence in there that's about listening to the voice of the mountain. And I just thought that whole section was just gorgeous, really, really, really stunning. And then there's one later on where this made me laugh, and it's probably one of my favorite parts, when we're jumping ahead maybe, when Lysander's running after when the prisoners get brought, and he's running down there and everything else, and you have a section here, and it's like when the sergeant just doesn't bother keeping up with him, and it's just like practical in his abandonment. Carfell's rumbled sergeant of the army trudges off to go and find the barracks, because like the sand goes straight through a river, and he's like, no. And I was just like, I just loved that whole little thought process. Like, I wouldn't run after him, I'd probably go find a different way. So it's just those little, like, that's just the writing just really is getting me in this one. It's great.
I think I'm also stressing a lot less about the writing. I think there was this sort of pressure when I was reading it the first time to go, oh crap, I've got to talk about this in 4 chapters, and I need to know exactly what's happening at the end of every 4 chapters to kind of be able to hold on a conversation or say something. And now I just feel like it's a book that will give you whatever you need. It's, again, somewhere later down the line, if you really need it. There's a couple of instances even within the 4 chapters where that happens, and it's like, remember, this is actually what happened. You know, that you may have forgotten that this happened, but this was the thing, you know.
Well, it's like when we were talking about earlier with the gossip. There's a little section at the beginning where they're stopping at the inns and the houses, and they're gathering this gossip, and you kind of like, I was like, all right. And then obviously it comes back, and it's all to do with the song he puts together. And it's just like, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't really matter if you're paying too much attention. You're just like, oh. So yeah, that works really well. Does anybody know why Dakar hates him so much? I don't get it. Why does he hate him so much? Yeah. He like hates him.
Yeah, he really starts to turn on him.
Yeah.
So it's about the kids, about sending the kids out to be the fodder for the army, which is one of those things that's reminded later on, because he accuses him of it in 1 chapter, and then about a chapter and a half later, it reminds you that it was actually Keel's idea, that he kind of went against Arthur's instruction not to send the kids out, and that it was him just to kind of give you this idea that actually Dakar's reason for hating Arthur so much actually is null and void, because it actually wasn't a thing. You know, the fact that he would sacrifice kids.
So Willie is just a bit of confusion, basically, because I was just like, he really, considering he knows the prophecies and considering he's involved, I was like, could you... I was a bit like, he just hates him so... and I don't know if it's because maybe he sees him as... he does, like, he's been given this boulder of responsibility that he doesn't want to deal with. And I also thought it was potentially linked, because you know how everyone just loves Lysair, and I know Dakar was his friend. It does appear that people get quite cultish about Lycia.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if maybe it was something to do with that as well. Like maybe he just got caught up in that as well, and now he's not with his friend anymore. I'm not sure, but I don't know.
It is, some of that, like Lysia's, natural charisma just kind of draws people to him. And the sorcerers like Asandir, as noted, they don't. You have to ask for information, like they don't just necessarily volunteer it, even to his apprentice. So Dakar has drawn conclusions about what happened, in Talcoran, with the kids and Atara and all of that, and Asandir hasn't seen fit to correct him because that's their whole thing. You have to come to them and ask, and
Dakar's just not.
Yeah, Dakar's just like he's made up his mind, and that's pretty much it.
And he's had like 5 or 6 years to actually build up this antagonism too, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know that Arathon wasn't solely responsible for that incident.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, Dakar never really warmed to Arathon, even from the very start of the book. It's sort of like underlying in the background. Like, he didn't really seem to like either of them for a lot of it. It was very much just, these are the two dudes that are in my prophecy. They're going to play it how it'll do. But particularly, there was a couple of scenes in book 1 where Dakar and Arathon's like, oh, I don't like this guy, the way he works his magic and things like that,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is also that Dakar and Arathon kind of, showed him up multiple times. And
yeah, that's right.
And then he got, I'd say it's probably a little bit of his, inflating his relationship with Lysair into something that it really wasn't, because Lysair was just easier to get along with. And so he's just sort of seen Lysair as my friend. His brother is just this evil bastard who did it, and he just swallowed the, propaganda wholesale.
Question.
Yes.
Another line. Thanks, Chewy. Question. One of my other lines that I wrote down, which I was just like, oh, that's strange, was about when Deegan was just like, my prince isn't bloody and dead. And then he smiled in elation that pierced him more sweetly than his fiercest climax with a woman. Like, he loves Lysair, like, way beyond what would be kind of like he's fully in love with Lysair at this point. And I was just like, is that just Lysair's charisma? That's why I kind of said cult earlier, because it seems like people are getting not just he's a great leader, but are like really falling for him. So I didn't know if that also happened to Dakar a little bit. Like they just kind of almost not fall in love, but revere him so much that they don't know what they're doing around him.
I think I'd made the point in the last one that I kind of seen, even let's say at that stage, as sort of an allegory for Hitler in some way, and that he's in the cult of being a leader to kind of get people to adore him, way beyond what should be like political leader status or that kind of stuff, by using, in some cases, these people are all bad because they follow this other person or they follow this other creed, kind of using people's prejudice against them to kind of say, yes, we're on the side of right here. And kind of, like you say, building that cult, because obviously the whole Nazi movement became more than just a political movement. It was very much people had to buy into an ideology way beyond, like you say, the relationships with their wives and their kids and all of that kind of stuff. It was the mother Germany doing it for themselves. Like, that's probably very harsh on Lysair, but that kind of idea of that relationship.
I wonder if the curse of the Mist Wraith itself plays into that at all. Is it just affecting those two guys, the half brothers, or does it, include affecting people around them as well? And I don't know the answer to that, but
or could it imbue powers in them that do exactly that kind of thing, in terms of inspiring people or otherwise, and they go about different ways, obviously, Arathon and Lysair.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it might not be the curse as such. It might just be the light magic he has. I don't know. Like, could it be something that's related to that rather than just the curse? Because he obviously already was brought up to be kingly and everything else, and had the light and stuff. So it might be looped in with that. I don't know.
Yeah, and he has this natural aptitude to show off his chivalry, so to speak. Because like when he's running in to stop the barbarians from becoming slaves and being slaughtered and stuff.
Well,
But he killed them.
he ran in to stop them from being slaves. Not so much the from being slaughtered.
Right.
He was like, I've done a good thing, you know, I've saved them. We're not gonna have
and then
slaves.
just turns right around and like, yeah, no, I just asked people to kill them all. It's like, and he just doesn't even bat an eye at it, which kind of plays into, he's like, well, they're criminals, so it's just,
Yeah, right. But his sense of chivalry though is like, it's that twisted form that we were seeing before, and but the people liked it though, his followers,
Yeah.
And
well, he's and you can see with, like Robyn mentioned, and how Deegan is so absolutely devoted to him, and he does it with other people too. And I don't know if we've got a good example of it in these chapters so far, but like Chris said, he very much plays into their fears, and exploits that, and they just their fears get played on so well that they just sign right up to whatever he's selling, because like in Deegan's case, he's like, I saw all these horrible things at Talcorin, and instead of stopping and thinking like about, hey, we're the ones that went in there and provoked this, he's just like, oh, or like, hey, Lasser's the one who brought the light bolt down and like in the middle and denounced this all up, and yet we're the ones. Yeah, he doesn't stop to think. He's just like, no, my prejudice say these are the bad guys, and this guy's giving me an out to
right.
Plus, he has that thing where he has parlor tricks. Well, they're a bit more than parlor tricks, but the idea that he can create the shield. We're going to create this situation where we all should die with the hail of arrows that are coming down us, and he disperses them obviously with his light magic, and again reinforces this idea that I'm worth following. Look what I can do. These are I'm very different, and we will win because I'm so powerful.
Yeah, he was showing off. Yeah.
He was, yeah, very much.
And I don't know why. I don't know what it. Maybe it's the descriptions, but the power or the magic feels more powerful than other fantasy books. It feels more, maybe because it's not used as often, or. But it does. You do feel like they're, like Chris you mentioned, but you can feel how powerful they are when they do use it.
I think very much in this book compared to the last one, because I would have said the last book, the magic was sort of there without us really understanding how it worked and how it played through, and maybe because that slow build up, kind of get a sense of, like the thing about the lanes, etc. We get an idea that, much like in other fantasy books, there's things that can enhance the magic and make it more powerful, and even a song can destroy a city, as it turns out, a sorrowful song, which also, I will say, gives the idea that a happy song could do the opposite. But anyway, not go there just yet, but kind of float those ideas. But also, even in terms of getting to know the Fellowship even better, that we are up to chapter 8, we get a very much strong sense of what they can do and what their powers are. And when each of them are set off to do a task, you're going to do this thing, which gives us an insight into what they ultimately can achieve or are expected to achieve.
And how crazy busy they are.
Yeah.
So it's all over the place.
Yeah, that was another thing I noticed, that it's like they're always so busy. How can there be so much going on in the world for all these like, what have they been doing for have they been this busy for 500 years or whatever?
Thousands of years, yeah.
Yeah.
Understaffed, underpaid, and they're even more understaffed in this one.
Yeah.
Off, who knows where.
Caramon's not there, and the car's otherwise incapacitated. I have to say, I was so delighted when obviously Asandir kind of curses him in some way. We know he's been cursed, and I was like, please God, let him be put off drink. That would be such a good curse. And there was even more than that, as it turned out. It was just anything that was pleasurable or nice to him, and he was like, oh, but that's the best thing that you could have done to kind of get him to turn around. And I love how Dakar also still battles it, like going, I still don't like him. I'm still going to try and get out of this at every opportunity that I possibly can. So it plays into his character as well.
Yeah, he goes and visits that witch, and she's like, no, I'm not helping you.
Yeah, it's like, nope. You got your own problem. I want nothing to do with it.
Oh, dear. I love that scene actually as well, because it shows you out that she's not some sort of trickster either. She's the real deal when it comes to doing the potions and all of that kind of stuff. And it was like even she went, but no, you're good.
It was quite good because I think the same. I thought that he was going to get completely duped, his money taken off him. It was all unlucky, but it actually turned out that she was a real, I don't know, hedge witch or whatever. Yeah. So that was quite cute because it also shows another level of the magic in the world. Like you're coming down in the tiers of the magic as you're meeting more people. So that was also another interesting tidbit put in there.
That's cool. What about the do you think Asandir really manipulates the situation with Halaron and Dakar, the kind of guilt that Dakar feels from promising that he'd see his homeland and his family, and really plays on him to kind of say, oh, look at the mess you have created here. You're going to have to do this to rectify it. The only way we can do it is we'll take care of this, and you go look after Arathon and take care of him, because otherwise I would have done it. But you created this absolute mess with this promise that you made Halaron that we're going to have to go deal with it for you.
I don't know if he played him. I think the car kind of needed it because he was already meant to be looking out for him. So I don't think that was him being played as such. I think that was just comeuppance for being an idiot more than anything else. Like Arathon played him, but I don't think Asandir played him. He was just angry, I think.
And there's some explanation there from how some of the magic works too, from Asandir when he's in this this part. And I liked how she wrote it because it all came very naturally. It wasn't like this huge forced exposition shoved down your throat or anything like that. It all came out very well in I think it was in chapter 6 where he basically curses Dakar with the oath, that Dakar takes. And I liked how it flowed naturally. It was easy to read, and I was just like, yeah, this all makes sense now. And there was a lot of stuff that probably came up in the first book, but it was reaffirmed, in that chapter in that way, and how the magic works and stuff.
Yeah, I did also. I thought it was interesting, to see where Arathon actually shares the same kind of mindset as the sorcerers about not really volunteering information, but he doesn't quite follow it. It's like he baits the conversation with a hook that if Dakar had been paying attention, could have caught and asked questions and realized that, hey, you've been a Gia slayed on you to stick you around me, but Dakar doesn't bite, and so he's just like, okay, whatever. He goes on about his business. And then when Dakar's like, you didn't tell me, and he's like, I mentioned it. Yeah, I gave you a hint.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it's on you if you didn't pick it up.
What do you think about the way Arathon set up that whole situation with the encounter with the smuggler captain and what's his name, Durkin?
Durkin, yeah.
Yeah. And how much did he orchestrate that, or did he just take advantage of a situation? Like, I'm wondering what you guys think about that. I'm not sure myself.
I feel like he knew what he was doing all along. Even when he planted the idea of in the head that even when he had to leave, there would be furious, kind of thing against him. You captured me, you took over my ship, you did all the rest of it. But he kind of planted the idea, I'm going to make you the most powerful person on the seas by the use of the tools that he was granted. And eventually, when he did leave and he left the tools, Dirkram was very happy at that stage to kind of say, oh, right, okay, actually, the promise that was made to me was actually fulfilled in some ways, whereas beforehand it was very much, I'm in control here. I can't let you do this. I'm in charge. And Darthan kind of manipulates the whole decision to the point where it's like, no, I'm gonna give you the chance to do it yourself, but ultimately, I just take care of this bit from here on.
Were you asking about just the pub bit or the whole of it?
The whole of it too, because the pub did too, because he also, because Dakar started the fight with Dakar, but did Arathon kind of know he was going to do that? Did he?
I think it inferred that he again was playing him, so kind of set it up because he knew that Dakar would try and work against him, and because he told him or outwardly said who he's trying to see. I think he was playing it, but I don't know if that's kind of giving him too much generosity and how intelligent he is. Maybe that was just one of the plans. Like it went kind of the way he thought it would, but had it not gone that way, he might have done something else as well to make it go that way. So I think he kind of hoped that that's how it's going to be. And on the ship, I think that was kind of like a hedge that obviously they'd want that kind of technology to be able to, because from my understanding, they don't have the charts to navigate by the stars, I'm assuming, something like that. So they have to stay close to the land.
Yeah, they've mostly been lost,
Yeah.
So it's like they might be, sitting in a library somewhere, buried, but some old library, but a lot of that was just, lost, and they couldn't see the stars, so
Yeah,
they sort of lost.
That was given to Arathon by one of the sorcerers, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay, that's what.
Yeah, the guy in the tower, right?
Yeah, left it too.
One begins with S. That one.
Sethvia.
Yeah.
It's not in this book, but there's a line, and I'll leave out parts that give context to who he's talking to. There's a line from Arathon, and I may have mentioned this one before, that sums up perfectly, anything with Dakar, throughout this, a lot of this book, where someone's like, accuses him of Arathon of using people, and his reply is just, I exploited what faults you presented. Don't blame me, yeah, it's like,
And he did.
you were predictable in how you were going to act, so
I mean, and Arathon has a past as a pirate, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'd forgotten that until he was actually on the ship, and you went, well, of course.
Yeah.
Blank that out. Yeah.
I know. I think as he was leaving the ship, it was like, oh yeah, it reminded you that he was the son of a pirate king, and I was like, oh, that's why he can sail. I remember now. So yeah, because when the captain was in her cabin, and she was like, the boat feels like it's being sailed perfectly.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right. But it makes much more sense by the end of the chapter.
I don't know if anybody else has read it, but the Bone Ships, any of the Bone Ships books, that whole series felt very like it. Dirkram felt like Lucky Me's and stuff, and that. So if you like that section of the book, I think you'll find something in that as well.
Did everyone like the female captain? She seemed pretty badass to me. I thought it was kind of cool. I also like the way that there was different rumors about how she became the captain as well. I was like, was it her father? Was it her lover? I liked that. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I like when fantasy series, especially again another example of people not showing that they're all incompetent, but that they actually are all intelligent and capable and can still be manipulated or be won round to doing something that maybe they don't want to be doing. Initially at first, but in the far end kind of go, I should have done this myself or something like that. She was good. She was a good character though.
Yeah. And she was smart enough to realize that
Yeah.
she can definitely make use of all this information that Arathon, eventually. I mean, she didn't want to look like she was kowtowing to him in front of her crew, so she had to play that very subtly.
Mm-hmm. Very well written in that respect.
I did also like the bit where they were something like, and he took his shirt off, so he was all tanned, and his hair looked great. And then they had the interaction between him and the captain, and I was just like, oh.
I missed that bit.
Oh, did you? No, I didn't. It's literally just before the section where they're talking about her fears about the fact that she doesn't want to let anyone close. I assume is kind of where it was, and in a romantic way. But it was just the setup of that. Literally just before that section was, oh, he had to give in because he was getting salt the sores, so he took his shirt off, and I was like, oh.
He presented what the situation given. Another one of those is the faults that people present.
And the bit where they were doing the reading, and she took it very well, that he was just like, you might want to pass that to someone who can actually read, because she was holding it upside down.
Yeah.
And that kind of interaction was kind of cool as well.
I love the fact that Dakar realizes he's being played by Arathon along the way, and then he starts to double guess himself and say, well, if this is what he wants me to do, maybe I should get him to do that. But maybe that means that he wants me to do that thing, and I should do the original. That bit's becoming so much fun as they play off against each other.
Yeah, I think you'll get a laugh out of what his ultimate response to that is, because this will not be the last time that Arathon is like reads him like a book. It's like, yeah, I know exactly what he's going to do, and I'm going to exploit that. And then his response to that is like, well, crap.
Yeah. That whole bit about not being able to read was hilarious. That was great. That little section was great.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of playful bits in this book. I don't know if I didn't see them in the first book, but there are a lot more of those little bits of humor, or those little kind of scenes where they're played as much for entertainment as they are necessarily plot progression.
Yeah. We also had, because you mentioned Lysaea killing the people who were, instead of making them slaves.
Mm-hmm.
But we also had, in contrast, Kale and was it Jarrett? Yeah. They also had to kill some prisoners in this book, and it kind of made them seem a little heartless and cruel as well. And so I'm like, okay, what's Janny doing to us here? And
I agree and disagree with that, because with Lysaea, he was just like, don't worry, I took care of it. We killed them. It's all good. Whereas with the people in the caravan, they were like really struggling with the idea that they had to kill them, and like that one guy stays so that the other guy doesn't have to. Okay, terrible with names. So like he's like, I'll do it. Don't worry. Don't sully yourself with having to do the murder. You won't be able to take it on. And then it finds out that they don't actually kill all of them. They save the lady and the child, even though that could be problematic for them. So I just think that was the dichotomy of, like I said, just being an idiot, and then that group just really struggling with the idea that they have to do this because otherwise bad things could happen. So I do agree with you, but I think there was a little bit more of a twist on it.
But also plays into the idea of this unreliable narrator that is telling this story is sort of presenting this sort of one view of the world, if you know what I mean, in terms of good and bad. Like Lysaea's very much painted as the baddie, even though he's sort of the hero in the story so far to the people. It's kind of a bit strange in that way.
Yeah.
But us, the reader, we see him as definitely the antagonist here.
Well, we get some parts that are from Lysaea's viewpoint.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't get that with Arathon. And that, not that I can recall so far. And so that's, I'm wondering if there's a, what the purpose is to that, because I noticed that in these last 4 chapters.
I think it's ties into the, let you decide, let each person who reads, decide in the good and evil. Is you see Arathon's, actions from outside, point of view. You don't often see what he's thinking or feeling. Now we will get, we've still got a few books for that, but you will get to see inside his head. And it's one of my favorite books in the series too. But but yeah, for a lot of it, we're just looking, we're looking at him from the outside.
Right. Yeah, that it creates an interesting, I don't know, I guess kind of an interesting cognitive dissonance, really, when you're trying to figure out who to root for, I guess.
Yeah. Indeed. I hadn't thought about that. We hadn't seen Inside Arathon's, because I do actually feel, and not just because 3 out of the 4 chapters here were very much centered on Arathon himself, but I feel like we know, or we see an awful lot more of Arathon's journey, even from the very start of the first book, and where he's come from the next years. And I wonder if that's part of our influence into who we root for. Obviously, there's other things that go into that, but you're predisposed to see the main voice or the main character the most often, to think of them as the hero, sort of, the book.
Yeah, but it surprised me of how, like Robyn said earlier, how much Dakar does not like him.
Yeah.
But we're getting Dakar's viewpoint sometimes. But when we get other people's viewpoints, it's not as vitriolic, I guess. And so that it's a lot of playing with us, the reader here, as far as our viewpoints on other people's viewpoints of the main characters. It's cool.
It is cool. It's like a good body cop movie at the moment, isn't it? Where Dakar and Arathon are kind of achieving this stuff together, even though they're sort of at odds with each other. The one's trying to foil the other one at every point, but it's like, but here we are again. We've made through another challenge as a pair. Live to tell the tale.
What do you guys think is going to come next? I don't know. There's a couple of threads I think might be resolved in this book, and there's a couple of threads I think might be resolved later. So you've got his Meiji, I don't know which, the lady he met, stop laughing at me, Steve, the lady that he met that has been sent off to try and seduce him.
Hilarious.
Looking out for that. Gonna enjoy that.
Yeah. There was a section.
And that was like tucked at the end of this, literally like a line, isn't it? Like, I don't know if it was one of the 3 ones you get at the end. It was like sent off to try and be his mistress. So that, I think that's going to be an interesting storyline to resolve.
His top might be coming off again.
Yeah. And then there was the fact that you had the Mist Wraith not escaping, but at least pushing against its binds.
Yeah.
And then you've got this black powder thing. I assume the black powder one is going to be in the next couple of chapters. I'm quite excited to see kind of what that's about, because they're going to go head there next, presumably, I think.
Yeah.
Alara had her own section earlier, where she was kind of we started seeing her kind of like wanting to thwart her own order a little bit there. And she was like glad that they couldn't get everything out of her. And then then there was that little section you mentioned that comes later. And
you had I just remembered you had that whole scene with her and the other one of the 7, where he changes her life extension thing, doesn't he? So he still gives her. Yeah, was it? No, it was
no, it was the
one she met before.
Traith, was it?
The guy with the hat and the raven, isn't it him?
She met Traith.
Chibi.
Not Traith in the last book.
I think it was him. I think it was him then, because he goes and visits her and then takes away the pain she's doing, and then elongates her life.
Luhane is the one who.
Oh yes, it was Luhane. It was.
At this point, she's met 3 of them.
That's right.
Oh yeah, 'cause she met Cinder as well.
Yeah.
So that was quite cool because he's now broken her link to the crystal as well, hasn't he? So if she wants to leave, she can just leave. But obviously she's not aware of that, so that's kind of an interesting.
Well,
sort of
she still got the oath she swore to them, but he was just like, yeah, we don't want her to have more ties to them. So we're gonna halt this.
But it is interesting. While the Coriani are sort of a big player, they're sort of fodder at the same stage for whatever the Fellowship want to do. Like the Fellowship can make big sweeping changes here if they really want to and manipulate things on their whim without really having to worry about retorts or reprisals from another organization.
Yeah, but it was important to them to let her have her free will.
Yeah,
as far as what she was going to do. So
it's. I think she remarks on it in the last book. Alara does that. She had the encounter with Asandir, and when she has the conversation, and Moriel's like, the Fellowship made a misstep and blah blah blah, and Alara's just thinking, what? No, just have you ever met them in person? Like, just you get the feeling is like, no, there's no misstep here. If they did this, they did it deliberately. And
sure.
I don't remember where it is, but there's so I don't know if it's here, but I think it's her or someone remarks, just they get such an idea of what the Fellowship are capable of that they're just like, and then they're like, the Coriani is setting themselves against them. This is madness. You're insane. And I think you've kind of got that feel for it already. It's just like it's like, yes, they could probably like squash them like bugs, but they don't.
But I think going back to Chris, what you said earlier about having the levels of magic and being aware of that. If we'd been introduced to them first, you would think that the magic they are doing was super powerful. Like they're extending their lives, right. They're doing all this scrying, they've got these other magics they've brought up and discussed. But because we came in at this level, it makes them seem kind of not like they're doing a lot. But actually, when you think about the stuff that they're doing and how they're discussing it, they're doing quite powerful magic. It's just nowhere near as powerful as the Seven. So it's like a really weird viewpoint of all the magics. Like if you've been brought in just and you knew about the hedge witch, you'd probably think that was really powerful sort of thing. So it's about where you're brought into the story. So it's a really unique way of describing the magic, I think, or at least how it sits in the world.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, it's like it's not to say that they aren't powerful. Like you said, it's like they are, but as you've probably seen in some of her interviews, Janny said, it's like these really powerful beings, and whatnot, have been there all along. They just walk very, very, very softly. And so it's like, yes, the Coriani are powerful and can do a lot of things. But they're by no means like, the top of the heap.
Yeah. And it's another example of that kind of thing. 'Cause I think we talked about it, and Johnny talked about it when we talked about how we'd missed how powerful the Fellowship were at the very start, But here's another example of it just through illustration, saying actually, this is how powerful they are compared to people that, as you quite rightly say, are also quite powerful.
Yeah, like in the first bit is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, scry and look at this world that's, however many countless light years away or wherever it is, and and use enough power to just like smash the continent to do that, and and not just treat it like it's not even a thing.
But yet they're worried about the power of the Mist Wraith. So that tells you how powerful the Mist Wraith is too.
Yeah. That 6 years and it's breaking free of its prison. That looks like pretty much.
That's a really good point, because to be honest, they put him in the prison in what seemed like because it wasn't the end of the book. It seemed like it was quite easy for them because it wasn't almost the main focus of the first book. It was more about the brothers. But if you think about, one of the seven lost most of his powers because of the Mistwraith. I know he was closing down the barrier. And then, as you said, they were already escaping. Like, it kind of does show you how powerful that being is, or beings, or whatever it is. It's interesting.
Yes, and worrisome.
It does make me think where 11 books of this goes, because a lot has happened, if you know what I mean. It feels like we're going to get some answers to, like I think Robyn said, we're going to get some answers to some of these threads by the end of this book. And then we'll be like, oh, we'll feel happy. And then I assume something else will open up and we'll be like, oh, but none of that matters anymore because this is happening.
Well, it's funny. Again, it was one of those things about the long story ties. You know, when Lysander was doing his whole building of his buildings, and he was like, I'm just going to put all of these like stones up here. I was like, that's got to come to fruition later somewhere along the line, surely, because that's all like wrapped up with the Peruvian history. And I was like, I think that's going to be one of the long lead things later regarding that. But yeah, 11 books is a lot of story to be told.
Yeah.
Is that we're going to use this as a short? We can get that clip of Robyn just saying exactly that bit, so that in like 6 months' time we can go, aha! I got it.
I do think we should write down all of our like predictions for this stuff, and then we can revisit them when we get to that point and be like, we were completely wrong. All right, who knows?
That's a good idea. We should do that.
See how wrong I am.
I'm continually wrong, but you've got to put yourself out there so people can kind of say, you know what, you thought this, and I thought it was a very good idea at the time, but it turns out you're an idiot. It was nothing to do with that.
So, Robyn, I have to. I'm sorry, Jerry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to ask Robyn how the spine looks on her book. Is it destroyed?
I was doing so well, and then literally I was just like, I sat myself in bed and I have a cup of tea and a biscuit, and I just went crack, and I was like, oh no. So this has got one direct line down the middle of the spine. I was trying so hard as well.
It's not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. It's also now got folded pages as well, because that's just how I live. Sorry.
Ouch. The question I had was, Arathon has these, I guess they're powerful gems on him.
That he doesn't know were powerful gems?
That he doesn't know about, and Dakar does.
Mm.
So there's a secret being kept the other way. And so I'm wondering, that's one of the things I'm wondering, what's going to become of those. Because he's like, yeah, we'll use them. We'll sell them for, this or that or whatever. And so I want, that's like a seed, I guess, planted for future contemplation. And then Arathon's up to something at the end of the 8th chapter there. Like that section's called duplicity, so it's like, okay, what is he up to now at the end of that 8th chapter? And I couldn't figure it out, so I don't know if you guys have any ideas.
I think the jewels is a case of, probably nobody here's seen the film, but The Earrings of Madame de by Max Ophuls from the 50s, right? You should definitely watch that movie if you haven't, but I think that's what's going to happen in these jewels. And I'll not spoil that, other than that'll be my clip for going forward. What's going to happen those jewels in time, because I think they are going to sell them here. I think they need the money. They need everything that they need to make everything happen at the moment, and then things will happen. But the duplicity, I couldn't work out what Arathon's plan was at all. I couldn't even think where he's possibly going. I think there's too many possibilities for us at the moment, I think, in some ways.
Did you miss that at the end of 8? I thought he was pretty clear on what he was planning.
Oh.
Well, he wants Dakar to pass as a merchant. But I guess I missed exactly why.
Right, yeah, right at the very end in the like 3 bits talking about the world, they show that Dakar goes in to be a merchant, but I didn't know if there was more duplicity or.
He's going to peddle the emeralds, is all it says. I got that bit. To admit the fat merchant who'd arrived to peddle metals the day before.
Well, we know, Dakar wants to try and get it killed. That's why he's foisted it off on Erethan. Erethan's, obviously, done his homework on, rumors about the brothers and whatnot. And, well, again, I exploited what faults, you presented to hand. So what do you imagine Dakar's going to do once he's, in front of the brothers with the emeralds?
That's a good question, because Dakar knows that they're used powerfully for magic, and Erethan doesn't.
Yeah, that was in Curse. They mentioned the emeralds, I think, and they did something to discourage Erethan from really noticing that they could be used as for magic or whatever.
Yeah, like a focus or something like that.
Yeah.
I love Chibi. You're just like, what can I say? What can I say?
I'm kind of in the same situation last week with, or 2 weeks ago with Chapter 5.
Oh, you're biting your tongue. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, Chapter 9 is going to answer a lot of that.
There's only 6 chapters in this. There's 6 chapters to go in this book. Like, it's not as if.
There's a lot, but Chapter 9 is very awesome.
Is it better than one of the greatest chapters I've read in my entire life? Is it better than that?
It's awesome in different ways. She mentions wanting to do lighthearted stuff, and I think while there's a lot of seriousness in what's going on, it's I love the way she does lighthearted, and it's like this is almost funny, even though it's like this is deadly serious, but it's hilarious.
I like that bit as well.
Nice. Looking forward to it.
Chris, I've just thought, you have I think you've pulled the tab way too early. If we've got 11 books to get through and that was the best chapter that you've ever read in all of fantasy, how are you going to survive the rest of the books?
Like, often my favorite bits of nearly everything, movies and everything, is some little inconsequential bit in the middle that didn't mean anything, but that sort of gives me a sense of the whole series in its own right. That's what I'm holding on for. I'm very big on hyperbole and making big statements.
You actually don't say things like that. So that's, I was like, wow.
I don't know. Between we did a lot of movies together. I said a lot of those are some of the favorite movies of all time, which they actually are. If I was to make a top 20, 50, etc., a lot of those do fit in. But I have to really like somebody. It's one of those things when you know. When you kind of read something and you go, oh, that is so awesome. Like, that's, as I would often say, that's so far beyond anything I could possibly do myself.
I was going to make a comparison to another series we were reading, but I better not. It'll sound, I was trying to think of a nice way to say it, but it won't come out very nice. But
no, I think you should say it, because I think it's fair.
I think it's interesting seeing the contrast of that other series to this one and how different it's written and just the storytelling in it. And not that there's anything bad with the other series that we're reading, it's just a different way of telling stories. Just very, very, it's interesting seeing the different ways you can tell a story.
And your emotional reaction to that, even though, like, I think I said sort of in my review, like, Curse the Mistwraith isn't a book that I found easy to read all the time, but the more that I get into, the more that it rewarded me. You know what I mean? And certainly those other series, I don't know if the more that I get into, the more it rewards me. I think sometimes the more it infuriates me in some ways, or some of the things that happen. And you kind of go, God, I've not killed this person yet. It's the series we're reading together, Robyn.
I was like, what series you? Okay, fair enough.
Like I like that series a lot, but it's not like this.
Dare you?
That's hilarious.
That's so good. That's next week or next 2 weeks time. I'm gonna have to turn up a Malaysia for Life T-shirt or something. You know, buck the trend. With the Nazi overtones or something in the background. Like I just think there's a whole line here I can go.
I will say to keep one thing in mind, or one scene in mind for a later book, is the whole bit with the clan prisoners and what he does with them there, and how he's just he's like, yeah, no, there will be no slaves here. Just keep that in the back of your mind somewhere. As there's a later thing where you're like, wait, what? And
must read more.
That's just what you've written down.
I've already got that written down. So that's good.
That's good. I was in your notes from chapters 5 to 8. Yeah.
I would love to see your notes, Jared, because you seem to have really detailed. Like when you're referring to them, they seem to be like quite detailed.
Oh,
I'd
this
love
is
to see what they look like.
handy dandy notebook here.
Okay, that's a pretty notebook.
I constantly am writing.
They don't call him the fantasy thinker for nothing. Yeah,
I love good notes. There's something about good notes that are just.
But I do wait until I'm done my section, then I go in and start writing stuff. But
yeah, because I tried to do that for a book or two. No, as the thought occurred to me, breaking the flow of a reading, I was like, no, stop it. You're kind of in the middle of a section or a book or something that's made you think, and then you put it down. Like you've just broken the immersion of the book, doing that. So it's kind of like wait to the end of the chapter or something.
Yeah, I think again, I'm gonna get hate, but when I go through and I see something that strikes my fancy, I put the bottom corner in, because then I can see where I put them. And then when I'm just bookmarking where I am, I just do the top corner so I can see where I am in the book.
Yeah, I mean, it's a system.
You can see at the bottom how many places you've and it doesn't tend to stop your flow then, because you literally just turn over the corner.
Do you not worry, like when our days have come and gone in the world, and people are left to tidy up the mess that we've left behind, that people will look at your book collection and go, "Oh dear, this person hated books."
No, they will say, "That's a well-loved book. She must have really enjoyed it."
Well loved, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And it's filled with like breadcrumbs and biscuits and stuff all on the inside. Isn't it?
There's T spots on the pages.
Mine had the sticky notes.
Sticky notes is good. I will say I've never spilt food on a book. I don't do that. That's kind of blasphemy.
Okay.
That's my limit.
Half limits. Okay, that's good.
There is a line. Okay.
You can't see it, but it is there.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anything else you guys can think of for 5 through 8?
Let's go read.
Yeah. Your lovely hardcover.
It's a library edition. It's cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I see your opportunity to throw it in the thumbnail at every opportunity, Steve. I see you.
It's like it's just...
I will admit, I finished chapter 8 and I kept reading. Now I'm in
he read ahead.
Blasphemy.
Terrible.
Everyone's shocked.
Cheating.
I mean, even though you've read it before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just kept going. I'm like, yeah, no, this is, I gotta follow what's happening now. And
Screw those guys, you said, Chibi. I hear you.
let's see. Actually, I want to see what the next batch of chapters are. Oh, yes. Okay, these are going to be good.
Stop it.
I just want to, and not that it's taken away from my enjoyment of this book, but it is so sad that there's no audiobooks for these.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like a crime. I don't know.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I do have a question though. So we have the 4 chapters, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then we just have 2 more after that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we want to do 4 and then the last 2, or do 3
Yeah.
3 or something? How did we want to, or just
I
all
was,
all-
I was thinking we can have the last two with Janny.
Okay.
Is what I was thinking. So it'll be, enough to where we can discuss, but then we'll be able to discuss the whole book with her. So that seemed to kind of work out okay. I know what all of you think though.
That seems good.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool because she'll be there for the ending then as well,
Yeah.
and we can all fangirl about,
Yeah.
fanboy, I guess.
My friends and I, once in like 2001, my first Dragon Con, we decided it was just fan person.
I like it.
Yeah, doesn't matter, fanboy, fangirl, just fan person.
I let others decide whether I'm fanboy or fangirling. Depending on my reaction. I don't know if there's a way to do it that makes you one or the other.
Yeah, let's see. That's that, and that. Oh yeah.
So Chibi's ready for the next episode. No,
That's
that's what I mean. He's got those 4 chapters done. He's good.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm halfway through. I still have 11 and 12.
Yeah.
But the whole arc of those 4.
I have to
like stuff Robyn mentioned earlier. She'll really appreciate chapter 12.
Black Powder chapter. Okay.
Excellent.
Awesome.
For a hint, if you haven't looked at the titles, it's titled Alara.
Lara, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. I just gave it away.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Lara is going to be in one of the chapters. What the hell?
Oh well, she's in other chapters too. So, but this chapter is specifically involves her.
Excellent. Good stuff.
I don't know about everybody else how this is kind of interfering or helping your reading otherwise, but this kind of every 2 weeks you're in a quandary as to whether let's do my 4 chapters immediately after the stream, like in the 4 days that follow it, or do I have a week's reading where I will read another book or something in the middle, therefore encouraging you to keep on reading during the week, and then second week kind of do my 4 chapters in there. I find myself doing the latter one much more.
Yeah, wait. Which one's the latter one?
The ones I leave a week, and then in the week before the stream,
I do
the
that.
4 chapters.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot when this was for a start. So I was like, have we had a week? Are we on the second week? But yeah, I did that. I was like, I'll read something else, and then I'll make sure that it's fresh in my mind when we have the chats. So yeah.
Yeah, I read it in the first week, and then I write it down, and then I wait very patiently for this.
Yeah.
Actually, do you have a book, that notebook for all of the books that you read, Jared, or is this just a Wars of Light and Shadow notebook?
No, this is for everything. And I only just started doing this when I started doing the YouTube channel.
Right, okay.
Didn't take notes prior to that.
When you hit 200k, Jared, you can auction that off for like millions.
You think so?
I mean, you just get to 200k first, or whatever the number is. I'm pretty sure if Daniel Green had something like that, people would go mad for it.
Oh,
yeah,
geez.
sure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Well, that's good. I hope you can afford it, Chris, because you're the buyer. So.
Similar to that, like you may have seen her mention it, in once or twice, but Dawn got Janny this notebook or art book, right? Sketchbook, and she's done all these sketches for various Wars of Light and Shadow and other things in there. And I don't know if she's filled it up yet, but like if she filled it up and put it up for auction, I know she's not going to because it was a gift from him, but
Yeah.
I would just be like, I would totally be there trying to bid on that because I'm just like, there's got to be so much nifty stuff in there. She's shown some of it on her website, but I don't think she's shown everything in it. And I'm like, I would absolutely, be all over trying to get that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be a cool keepsake. Yeah.
What an insanely talented person, though, right?
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely
crazy.
Stupidly so, isn't it? It's just like
I'm having trouble tying my shoes, and she's doing all this crazy stuff. Like, wow.
There's some things I watch or read and think I could sort of do that maybe, and then there's other things that you go, yep, not even, no idea, just no idea. Like what I will say about the books in general is they're really intricate character relationship studies. It's not so much about the world that you're building, although there's definitely a lot of that there. Like it's all there, but everything that happens is sort of people manipulating each other, and a bit like you had said, Jared, about kind of finding, or it was Jimmy said, the faults in another person to kind of probe at their corners and stuff. But it all makes sense. Nobody's really done something that's completely out of character or something that you go, oh, that didn't make sense. But it's all manipulation of people and their emotions and their pasts and everything that's happened to them to the point. It all makes sense.
Yeah, it's certainly extremely well thought out, and I think Janny's even told us, it's all there. Just gotta look at it.
So, chapters next week will be what, 9 through 13?
12.
9
to 12.
Yeah.
9 to 12.
9 through 12. Okay. Cool.
13 and 14, conclude this half of arc 1.
Nice.
Cool. So, before we, any other topics or anything? Anybody? Cool. So, Chibipoe, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
As always, I am available on Twitter at Chibipoe1. I have a YouTube channel, but there's nothing on there. And I'm also, on page twoing. I can be found there too. And that's about it.
And Robyn.
On my YouTube channel, Bookends and Biscuits. I'm quite active on Twitter as well, and you can find me on Instagram sometimes. Also, page twoing. Page twoing's great.
And Jared.
I'm on my YouTube channel, The Fantasy Thinker, and I'm on the page chewing forums, and also Instagram, The Fantasy Thinker as well.
Nice. And Chris.
You can find me on my channel occasionally. You can find me on Steve's channel much more occasionally. You can find me on PageTune as well.
Awesome. And you can find me on PageTune as well. I'm not on Twitter as much anymore. It's been really nasty there lately. It's been like, wow.
Yesterday was a fire sale.
Yeah. Wow. Glad I missed that whole mess. But anyway, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
The artist thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it got really nasty. It still is going on, but
still very much so.
Yeah. I like the positivity. So, but anyway, thanks everyone for listening or watching, and we'll be back in 2 weeks for the next few chapters. And I hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye bye.